Okay, what is our discussion today? You want to discuss about creating a catalog, you want to add database tables, and then so you are not sure where to start.
Actually, I want to discuss about database structure currently exists. I have a suggestion about for some tables to have more columns, maybe for date, for validity, for whatever, to see how can we handle all operation on catalog, like create, delete, and how can we store all the history. For example, when we create catalog, we need to save the creation date. When we delete catalog, we need to maybe to save the deletion date, and all the data between creation and deletion date should be saved in some way, so we can back to it for reporting issues, or we need to store this history.
Understand? Okay, so first of all, we look at the database design before we go into the details to talk about um, the Java, how to change, how to add database, and all that stuff, right? So when we look at the database design, the very first step is that we go back to the table that we had the discussion. During our previous discussion, we said that there should be from here this link directly pointing to here, right? There's a catalog, right?
We see that we don't need the update catalog to tenant link, because we have this link via the link table between update and catalog.
From this link directly to here, right? Yeah, yeah, we have a direct link. Remember? Or
I remember that we no more need catalog to tenant link table.
catalog
Yeah.
to tenant.
Yeah, the first one.
This one is not needed.
Yeah.
So we can delete it.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I don't touch first because I think you have made some changes somewhere, right?
Maybe it's through Liquibase we can do it.
Okay, so
I delete it later.
Okay, so what I do is that do I need to check out the latest database table? Let's say cd repo. Okay. CD. Okay. So I have cd quick ledger DBSchema. So git pull, right? So this one I have to close first and then don't save. So there are some changes here already, but these are different database from Suhaida. They are not the one that we are talking. Okay, let's go to DBSchema again. So we will just open the project. So I believe this is the latest, but you are telling me that don't change here, right?
Actually, I'm not sure. Hassan told me not to change and focus.
Okay. Okay.
Because this is one tenant, right? Master or something like that, or what? I mean, this connection to which database?
Actually, here I've done some connections.
Okay, if we change any one of the tenants, then the status of Liquibase will not be the same for all tenants.
Okay.
So if you don't want any change, tell me and I can from Liquibase.
Okay, what DBSchema is capable of doing is what you change. I think let me draw a flow so that it is easier to understand. Okay, so currently what happened is that this is shapes. This is a DB schema, right? So what happened is that you also have a Liquibase. So this Liquibase is Liquibase is I'm referring to the Java codes in a repository. That means that if I go to IntelliJ, okay, so I open. Where is the change log located?
Press two shifts, shift two times,
Shift 2 times,
then type Liquibase
Liquibase
dash
dash
change log.
change log.
It's still indexing.
Okay, this is the one, right?
Yes.
Where is it? Here. Let me bring it to the main window. So this is located at, wow, very long file. Okay, this is located at source in the Java SDK source main Java Liquibase change log, right? So now this is the Liquibase change log. So I'm looking at the Liquibase change log. So when this Liquibase change log in the source code, they get deployed to the another circle, another shape here. So they get deployed to the Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, is it correct?
I believe when we run Liquibase, yes.
Yeah. So when we run the Liquibase, it will be deployed in the Elastic Beanstalk, and then in the Elastic Beanstalk will then update the database. And the thing is, there are many databases. There are master database, there's a tenant database, there are Hassan database.
Yes.
So
we have one API that we call it. We pass the tenant code to it.
So who will call the API? Manually.
Manually.
Okay. So
before it was automatic when we run the project. You remember? Okay. Then workers changed it to manually.
Okay. So now we have a person here. So the developer will actually this is the RDS database. So this is a RDS database. I need to draw a line. So this one get deployed. Oops. This line. I need an arrow. How do I have arrow? Okay. Okay. So the Liquibase will go into the Elastic Beanstalk. Then the developer will manually do the deploy.
Yes.
No.
You run Liquibase.
This one is call the API.
To run
Need to pass in the tenant code.
We do it for all tenants. We have API for all tenants, so you can do it anywhere.
So there's a
choice.
Okay, my next question is there any permission to safeguard this? No, currently. So this is something that we need to put in place. You need to take note. Okay. Need permission to upgrade it. Okay. my next question is where can I find the API? Is it documented somewhere, or I need to dig into the source code?
I believe you have to dig first.
Okay, no problem. So for
It's DB migration controller.
for Lina, we need to look into the source code. So which controller?
Press two shifts.
Shift
Shift
two times.
DB
DB
migration.
migration controller. Okay. So this is the DB migration controller, and based on the DB migration controller, I need to look at the endpoint, which is a call one dash DB migration. Run the tenant code, or it can actually have different endpoints, take different parameters. Correct? Okay, now we are talking about the high level, so we will go into continue. Click OK here. Hey, how come there's nothing? How do I annotate? I have to put the text. Trigger. Call the API. .account.com to trigger the Liquibase upgrade utilities. Okay. But if it is calling the API, means that the arrow should be here, because it is actually
Yes, and this one.
and then this one will be the one actually. Okay. Okay. How do I?
How to do it?
I want to draw an arrow. Right. Okay. Actually, this one I can.
Like if you want to put numbers for steps.
Okay. Anyway, it's okay. So I put a text here. This one will update the database. A bit clumsy, sorry. First time I do. This one is get deployed. Okay. So after you get deployed to the database, because we have many different databases, there is a master database, there is a tenant 1, tenant 2, and so on, so forth. Then this DB schema is actually in a repository, right? So we have another shape here. Okay, this is the bit bucket repository for DB schema. So the thing is that when you run the DB schema, you are actually you can connect to multiple think I just draw polyline
Just
scribble.
get the DBSchema to
Huh? Yeah.
yes. Pull it for you.
Oh, okay.
Use the pointer.
This one.
Yes.
This one is select. This one is
It's
not.
select. Press it. Select this. Drag it. Drag.
Oh, okay.
Pull.
Okay, I see what you mean.
After you put it here, you
Yeah.
draw.
Yeah. It's easier. Right. Trying to. Okay, so I have a line here. Okay, so the DB schema will be the one connecting to the database, and then after that, of course, you check out, and then you this one is straightforward. You just update back to the repository. So what I'm trying to say is that this DB schema software is actually quite powerful in the sense that let's say if I come here and I delete this table, I drop this table, so
I think we can use program.
yeah, it's okay. We use so actually it is trying to connect to the database, but I can actually work offline mode, okay, and then I can actually delete the table, drop the table. Okay, so after I drop the table, let's just say now I try to connect, okay, I want to connect to Hassan tenant code table, okay, so let's manage the database connection. Let's go to this table, and then I disconnect, and then I connect. Okay, let's take a look at this. The host name is this. This is the remote port. I'm actually using
It's okay. Connect.
okay, I try to connect. Okay, so I try to connect.
It's connected.
Disconnected schema. Okay, I have this option, compare and sync the schema with the database. So refresh project schema from database. That means that when I click refresh project schema from database, it will take this schema and then compare it with the database, as you can see here. And when it does all the comparison, later on it will give you a report to tell you all the differences. Okay, let's just say I manually drop this here, and in the change log you also drop the table. Then later on, when you compare the difference, it will find no difference because both are for both cases the tables are dropped. So
But is it dropped actually in database? When you do it from here, now is it dropped in database?
it depends on where you click. If you click the schema here, is to refresh project schema from database. This one is selective refresh from database and compare and sync schema with database, and I think
Maybe it's just dropped locally here. Not yet. RDS.
Okay, I think what we do is let's try this.
Is it dangerous?
No, it's fine, it's fine. Because we are using the Hassan database.
But still, when we want to run Liquibase, maybe we'll have problems there. Because, not all tenants are the same.
Yes, you're right. So let's say we just do the compare, okay? Compare and sync schema with database. Because this one is create and upgrade schema in database. We are not, so we are just comparing, okay? So when you want to compare, you will compare the information schema, the table, the view, the catalog, and all these things. I just click OK here. Okay, so you will do all the comparison for you to check and see what are the differences between the database and the one that you can see here. Do you currently use this software or you don't?
Yeah, I use it, but I can't do any modification from it. Maybe because.
Okay, the thing is that if you log into the console, usually you have to log into the console, and then you have to change the IP address to open access, right? So what happened is that for me, I'm doing it a different way. I just want to show you because MFA code here. This is how. Okay. So if you look at the database security policy, which is under the RDS, under the instances, under the tenant, right? So we are going to tenant database, and then where is the connectivity, which is virtual PC subnet VPC security group. Okay, so when we click into the VPC security group, we have an inbound. If you look at this, I think this one we can remove already since we are not using it. So we can how to edit it? Go edit. Okay, check DB is not needed. Now, if you look at this AWS server, this is actually my private server. If you look at this ping vv.com, it's 52 77 58 and 129. So this is 52 77 58 and 129. Now our company, we also have a separate server. This separate server is for all the programmers to SSH in. Then from this server, it is like the SSH gateway where it goes into other servers. So what happened is that you can actually get Ariadne to change this to go to a server, and then every time your DB schema, this is your DB schema. Oh, okay, we come back to here. Okay, we talk about this first. We will go back to the networking later. So after you do the comparison, it will tell you this is in the database. That means that it is in your DB schema, but not in your database. Would you like to create it? But the thing is that we don't want to create it, because if we create it, then the DB schema will be inconsistent. But what happened is that we can click anything that is related to this part to make the schema, which is the DB schema project, this DB schema project, to be the same as the database. So let's just say you have already put a command, large data, large object for this. Okay, so you have a comment. This comment is not actually, I think it's not done by us, but
this PG catalog.
yeah, PG catalog, right? So
Yeah.
but here is our table, right? If you look at this, oh, actually our DB schema has been outdated, because you see here, actually somebody has already added the app tenant extension. It is not in this DB schema, but it is in the database.
It is in the DB schema, not in the.
No.
Oh, sorry.
This is a DB schema project.
I looked at this.
Oh, okay. This one is missing, right? So you click on it, it will show you the detail and so on. Let's go through it, since we are doing this, right? We go through it together. Okay, the first one, we are not changing the database here. We are not, but we are only making the DB schema project to be consistent with the database, right? So let's just say PG control init, it is missing there, but it is in here. I think something is wrong, but I think it is okay for us to go down, and this internal table I'm going to ignore first, because I don't want to look at this table. I close this, I close this. Okay, the PG catalog I close now. I just look at the public. This is a foreign key. It exists in here, but it does not exist in there. That means that we have to ask ourselves, should we modify the change log?
I believe it was there, but if the change log, we deleted it.
Yeah, maybe that's the situation, right? So we have to maybe do something about it. Now, here there's a database setting. We can actually decide the data types, reverse engineer setting. Okay, there are a lot of details here, but I won't go into details. Let's see the sync filter Java Groovy code. No, this is not what we want, but it is capable of doing this. Okay, app file item, we have a storage service.
Those columns has been added to the table, but not to the user.
Oh, okay, really? Okay, so now I click create here. Okay, create, and create. Okay, so I'm only selecting it. Don't worry, it's not changing anything yet. Then this one, the red color, this one exists, but the other side don't exist. Then you have to bring up the point. Should we have this or should we not have this?
I believe all changes are coming here.
Yeah.
So the inconsistency means that this is not just updated. So we can pull.
Okay. If you see this, the comment in the database, if you look at here, the comment in the actual database is empty. But somebody has actually added some description in this table. So these things, if we want to make the database to be consistent, then we have to click on the we don't click because we will modify through the Liquibase, right? So but I'm going to do this in 2 steps, because what I'm going to do is that first is we actually update the column here, but for the one that is going to change the database, actually I think it's possible for us to export the difference using the DBSchema software, right? So let's try that. So this one I'm not going to uncomment, but there's something that is renamed. This is a PK app host name HDR, PK app host name HDR, GUID. I think of course this one is better, and then this one is quite a number of things that is missing in the database. Okay, this one app sequence counter. You have added a column, is it?
Yes.
Index 1.
Yes. delete is nothing. Index 1 is index. I added it.
You added?
It's index.
Okay, so I should create it.
Yes.
Okay, I should create it here. So I create it here. Then I have an applet catalog. I also create it here. Yeah, header. You added status. This one is okay. This one is good. This one we create. Okay. So the exists. This one exists, but this one is missing. Applet login to subject link. That means that we have added in the Liquibase, but we have not put inside the change log. Right? So this will be a problem. So that means that we need to actually implement the change log. We need to actually add the Java object, this and that. Agree?
You were talking about this, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about this.
This comment has been added to through DBSchema, but not added to the Liquibase.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, sorry, not this. It should be this. Yeah, I'm referring to this. Right. So this one actually should create, but I'm not doing anything here. I'm not doing anything. Don't worry.
No, but I tell you something.
Yeah.
We decided to delete it.
Okay.
It's not like this is more updated than this. Okay. If you see something exists here and missing here, that means we decided to delete it.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the app login. Which one is the one that we decide to delete? This one.
Yes.
So applet
foreign key. We sometimes we ask you this foreign key.
Oh, okay.
We don't need.
So we should drop here.
It was exist already here, but we dropped it.
Okay, so we should drop in the schema as well, right? So we drop here. Okay.
Actually, we have to everything to execute here.
Yeah.
But the comments, because you add them on DBSchema, we have to put them.
Yeah. Okay. Then this two is missing.
Yes.
Foreign key, CRM activity header. This one also we should drop.
Yes.
Okay. This is CRM contact header. Exists. We should drop.
I'm not the one who dropped them, but I believe yes, because every change we do here, not here.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I should drop here and I should drop here. Okay. So then we go to the status. Missing. So this one we have to create. I think you did in the database, but we have not updated the schema.
Yes.
Then there's a message attachment. This one exists, but this one is missing.
Okay, as usual.
Okay, so we will drop this.
Yes.
And then actually in DBSchema we can put the hidden foreign key rather than the constrained foreign key, right? So that would not cause any problem. But anyway, let's continue. This one is a foreign key again. Okay, we will drop the foreign key. Okay, and then after that, there are so many things missing. So these are the new tables. Can you take a look at this app tenant
extension? Yes.
Extension. So this one I need to create in the DBSchema. This one UI. No, actually this one UI launcher app header and all this I want to drop it here. Okay, but okay, this field I need to actually drop it there, but I'm not going to click anything here because I don't want to update the database directly, right? So then coupon extension, coupon header, coupon line, these are missing. Oh, these are real table that needs to be created for the Cell Lab project. So I have to create this.
Issue extension.
Issue, okay, and issue header. Okay. Now, if you look at here, there is a generate scripts for database. Let's see what is it.
Maybe SQL code.
The generated script will contain all operations of which are modifying the database. Okay, so you see the thing is that now we are updating our own schema without actually changing the database. So I was just thinking we can potentially in the future just have discussion and make decision like this. After we make decision, I don't know, I need you to take the Hassan database, make one copy so that you don't screw up, so that we can test using this function. Because if this function actually work, okay, let's say I click on this, okay, and then I generate a statement. 5 elements will be dropped in the local project. Say okay. Oh, it straight away come here, but without actually
Yes.
but just now I click the generate the statement, there's nothing happened.
Yeah. Maybe. Have you seen those two rich books? They're here where code.
Yeah.
Everything you press,
Oh.
it will generate code.
Okay, so
So
so let's say I go back again schema, and then where was I just now? I was at the compare and sync with a database, right? So okay. Okay, I will let it run. Just now, as we are talking about the connecting to the server part, right? I was talking about SSH server. So what happened is that when you look at the connection here, if you have if you manage the database connection, it is possible that instead of connecting directly to here, I can, if I have a Linux server, I can enable the SSH server. Basically, I can put the Linux server name and then the username, the password, or the private key, or something like that. So what happened is that this DBSchema will connect to the Linux server, and then from the Linux server it goes to the database. Two steps. Now the advantage of this is that you don't need to keep coming back to here to edit the IP address. So every time you just connect, that's it, without actually going through a SSH tunnel. So now we go back to the DBSchema. Cancel. Okay, cancel. Still doing the analysis. Okay, while it is running, now we have discussed about how to actually compare the differences. I think in the next discussion that we want to have is we want to have a hands-on. Hands-on means I actually want to sit down and do it with you. So you need to book my time and together with his time. Then we sit down and then we will actually make changes in the IntelliJ. Together we find one example, because in the process of doing this, I think you will have to add table, add column, modify here and there. So we will sit down together like today, and we'll make the changes in the source code. And after we make the changes in the source code, we will click to deploy to the Elastic Beanstalk. And then when we deploy to the Elastic Beanstalk, don't forget, if you look at the Elastic Beanstalk here, there are actually two environments, because there is actually a test environment and there is a production environment. So the problem is when we deploy it, we will deploy it to the test environment. But as the production environment is live and running, that means that this may be updating the database when the database version here are different, and therefore it could potentially cause some problem, right?
One question: do they share the same database, or each one has its own database? The Java code has two instances. I mean, two copies.
Yeah.
One is test and one is live now. But for the database RTS.
Okay, this one, to be honest, I do not think, I'm sure, because currently when we look at the source code, when we look at the source code here, in
I believe there are two.
you believe there are two?
Yes, because the URL we are using to connect to database is using the normal API, the normal URL. The test URL has test inside it.
Okay.
Test.
Because
I'm not sure.
because here there's some application property and inside the Java app there's a API, there's a web application. Is actually getting the, if you look at the password here, it's actually getting the password. Where is the data source? Get from environment. If you look at this, it is actually getting from environment. So when it's getting from the environment,
Means to maybe in the product test instance and test environment.
okay.
We can check the environment variables.
Yes, correct. So the question is for Lina, if you want to be you're gonna be a full stack programmer, that means that you need to actually know that where can we find the environment variable configuration, right? I don't know. This is my first time looking at it too. So there's instances, capacity, security, monitoring, updates, network. Where can I set? Oh, there's environment variables here. So we can click here to modify the environment variable, right? So let's say when I click here, there are some environment variable here, right? So this one is actually pointing to the production.
The same environment variables.
So that means that we are actually accessing the same instance.
So to test, we have to create a new instance.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so if we want to test it properly, then we have to create a new instance, new database, and how to power it up, have a real test environment.
We have to.
Okay, so the next part is we are talking about after we have updated the database, and then we still need to go through quite a bit of changes in the source code, because each of the database table, database here, you go to the Java SDK, and then you go to the source, the main, and the Java, and the comp, big ledger. Okay, if you look at the, I want you to start working on the core tool, okay? Core tool, okay? If you look at the core tool, there's a data access layer, there's a DAL, data access object. If you look at this data access object, it extends from the DB table down, which is located in DDD, which is here. Okay, this database table down has got some additional parameters about the database class. It has got the integer, the limit, the offset in terms of the record, because when I want to access a database, I always need to have a limit the number of records it returns and offset from the first row. Now this may be different from call 1, I don't know, I think so. If you look at the call 1 under the common, then we under common,
If they have the same name, just shift
generic table, right?
No, you need down. Okay, go to down.
Base down.
DAS down. Database. So to D. Does they share the same?
Actually, I also did some refactoring for this, because I know previously it was everything was in here, but then after that, I think it's a generic master table here.
if it doesn't have down in the name,
Label down, item host name down. Okay, never mind. We can take a look at this one. This one, what it extends. Now, if you look at the core one source code, right? Some will extend another DAO, but some abstract table DAO. But when you look at some abstract table DAO, okay, let's go to the abstract table DAO and then see this. This abstract table DAO is just a generic with the table name and extend the table class. That means that this is a generic. Basically, it takes the table class. This one is field utils, get all the field lists. Basically, you pass a table inside, then you get all the field lists inside. To me, I think maybe there's something that we can improve here, because we are actually trying to define a table, abstract table down that is to be inherited. But I need to actually stream the table, and then that means that what I'm trying to say is that, to me, this is more like a utility function. When we inherit an object, actually we
want this to be in other class.
Yeah, this kind of thing should be in other class, so that when you design object-oriented programming, you do not mix up the utility classes with the logic, or not logic. This is like some methods or some helper functions. Yeah, but in the core one, you can see everywhere in the codes whereby there's a lot of helper utilities functions are embedded into the model of the object itself. So this is what we want to change in core 2. And if you look at the core 2, core 1, there is a DAO. I believe there is a table. I think there's an activity table. If you look at this activity event table, this table name itself, is a camel case. It's not a snake case. So when it's a camel case, it's more difficult, because we need to keep converting the table name to the when we want to compare the database tables. But if you look at in core 2, look at the table here. If you look at this, the table name itself is in snake case, and all the fields are consistent, and all this will extend the database tables. If you look at these database tables, currently it's pretty much empty class, but at least we can get the table name by just returning the class name. And then if you look at the down here, some will extend the abstract table down, some will not. I think some will not. Just now I saw one without. So extending. if you look at this, inside the DAO, okay, in the Java SDK, this is a Java SDK. Inside the DAO, in query for object list, if you look at the import here, query for object list. Oh yeah, you look at this data source config. Okay, if you look at this data source config, this is the data source config. When you look at this data source config, it actually is instantiated to be used to hold a connection, and it even has got the utilities functions to actually construct the SQL by using reflection. So I would say that in the core tool, we do not want to do this. That means that if you have a Java class for the configurations, this Java class is only used to load the configurations, but it is not used to actually construct all these reflection classes. So this thing that actually do the reflection, this logic, these codes here, should actually in the core tool be going into let's say the DB table DAO function. The DB table DAO can have this logic here to do the reflection, to construct the SQL, and then this DB table DAO then combined with this table, we can create a DAO. This DAO here should be making use of these tables plus what is in here to save the value into the database. Right? Because this is the DAO itself. Inside this DAO, I have the DAO for all the tables, and each of these DAO correspond to one table, and it extends the features and functions, or it make use or instantiate or something like that of the DAO utilities that are common and reusable. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So I mean, the good thing is all the codes in core 1 are working. So you don't need to struggle with making it work. So at least you know what works. And then so in the core tool, it will stretch the limits of your understanding of programming language, object-oriented programming, and as well as it will stretch the limits of your computer science concept to actually it's quite fun because something is already work, but I would say that when you do programming, modeling the source code is actually one of the most fun and challenging part of programming. Agree?
Yeah.
So what we want to do now is actually, of course, there are a lot of projects coming, and we need to tidy up the source code, and then so that we can move fast later. When we talk about, let's say, this stuff, there is another change. This is what title should I give it? Liquibase. account.com technical discussion. Liquibase.
DBSchema. Elastic bin chart.
DBSchema, elastic bin,
Chart.
and
Chart.
chart.
Chart. CHAR.
Chart.
And chart. Okay.
Without that.
Without that.
I mean, this is a chart
Oh, okay.
for history.
Oh, I see. Okay. So no need the chart. Okay. Okay. So now we need another new file, which is quite important for me to actually share with you. That is.
Sorry. Actually,
Oh,
I
you
can't,
need to go already,
do it,
right?
yeah.
Okay, no.
Later.
Okay, no problem, no problem. I think what we can do is to have a few more discussion. You can see that from each of the discussion, we actually discover a lot of information that if we don't have this discussion, I think it will take you some time to go and slowly find out, right?
Yeah.
But if you have this information, it's quite fast. Maybe
Yeah.
it's the things that are assigned to you, you can get it done in 1 or 2 weeks without actually banging everywhere, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. I think we will end today's session. What I'll do is I will upload it to the. This time I may upload it to the YouTube or Google Drive or something like that. I will send it to you. Then after that you just subscribe the channel or something like that.
Yeah. I already subscribed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.